Hey, good morning, friends, and welcome to Art School Live. Love it. Today, Eric Rhodes is traveling, and so he's asked me. I'm so honored to be hosting today, and I'm very excited to have my good friend Manon Sander on today. And I can't wait for you to meet her and see all of her wonderful color. This is Debra Huse. I'm from Southern California. I'm out in my studio in the boat marina, and so I hope you'll enjoy our show today. There she is. Good morning.
Hi, Deborah. Good morning.
Hi. I'm so happy to have you here today. This is so fun.
I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me
Of
to be a
course.
guest on the show. And also thank you for everyone for tuning in and watching this.
Yes, this is exciting. You're all the way in Vermont. I'm all the way in California. So we have people from all over the world that join us. So it's super fun.
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
Tell
I'm
us
just on
what.
vacation here in Vermont. I usually live in
Oh,
southern Florida, but I'm enjoying the fall colors up here for a week.
that's so cool. I want to join you. I'll be right over.
I would love that. At least I
Okay.
get to hang out here online with you.
Yeah, totally. I can't wait to find out what you're going to tell us today. You have such wonderful color techniques, and tell me all about it.
Yes, so I consider myself a colorist, and I have studied with colorists like Camille Persuadic, and I still I'm kind of a descendant of her, I would say. I love that way of painting, and I want to show everyone the four questions I ask
Oh.
myself with every color I'm mixing to get a beautiful, luminescent, light-filled painting.
And you do that so well. All
Oh,
right, well,
thank you.
let's get rolling, shall we? Let's get started.
Let's.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Hey, where is Eric Rhodes anyways? Somehow you ended up with Debra Huse in Southern California instead, but I'm honored to be here. Eric Rhodes is a great friend of mine and a fellow Hoosier, and he's done so much for all of us, and we're all grateful for everything that he's done, I know. And welcome, Streamliners. Great to have you here. Today I have a wonderful guest, Manon Sander. I want to tell you a little bit about her. She lives in Southern California, Southern Florida, and she's a signature member of the Laguna Plein Air Painters, a signature member of the Society of Marine Artists, signature member of the National Oil and Acrylic Painter Society, signature member of the American Impressionist Society, and out-of-state member of the Plein Air Palm Beach. She teaches workshops all over the world. This woman is a world traveler and originally, I think, from Germany. We'll find out. And she's just involved in so many plein air events. As a matter of fact, she's heading to one here in just a minute. So I can't wait for you to meet her and learn all about her color techniques. And let's bring Manon on. Hi,
Yes,
Manon.
hello, hello. Yes, hi. So, I think
Welcome.
you should be able to see my little painting, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's.
great. Should we jump right in?
Yes, well, we already have a little sample of your photo too on here. So we're all set. Yeah, ready to go.
Yes, so this is a little scene. I snapped this photo down in southern Florida where I live. And whenever I pick something to paint, it's really important to me that I have light and shadow. I'm just really intrigued by light and shadow and how to express that in paint. And so what you see on my canvas right now would be a typical colorist start that has nothing to do with the actual colors that I see, but I set myself up to create a luminous painting by making everything in the shadows a little darker and everything in the light a little bit lighter. I left out the background on purpose because I want to explain what's going through my mind when I do that later.
Let me ask you about the yellow. What's the clue
Yeah,
on? I mean, do you like to do that underneath all your sunny areas?
no, so basically what I'm trying to get to is getting the temperature relationships. That's why I have everything in the shadows a little bit cooler. That's from the
Mm-hmm.
cooler side of my palette. But on the lit up side, I also have temperature relationships like here the orange waders in the light are a little bit warmer than his white t-shirt in the light. So I used a cooler yellow here and a really warm one right here. So it's
Oh,
all about temperature relationships at this point. And when I'm done with this super colorful block in, then I go back in and I adjust the colors to what I really want them to look like. But typically at this stage, it already looks light filled. If it
it
doesn't,
sure
then
does.
if it doesn't, I have to go back and work it a little bit more.
Okay, super. So all these areas, are they all thin scrubbed in, or how'd you start?
It's pretty thin, so I did that just before we went on, so it's still a little wet. It's not a wash. So because if I have a wash, I would use the correct values when it's so thin, but I do have a little bit of mineral spirit and a little bit of gel medium in it to make it tack up fast, but I'm not building up paint at this stage.
Okay, super. Carry on.
Okay, so typically at this point, I change what looks really outlandish to me, which in this case I think that would be the water, because the water is clearly not yellow. So the 4 questions, let's maybe get to the first one. The
Great.
first one is always the hue. You have to, if you're trying to mix colors with intention, you have to try to really determine what color am I actually mixing. And so when I look at my photo reference, I would say it's sort of a greenish, bluish color.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to match the value that I already established.
Uh-huh.
So it's also kind of muted. It's really not very bright. So I think this here is pretty close to the value I have, and it's also not too bright, because another thing I'm always very aware of is, where's my focal point? It's clearly him here in his beautiful orange wader. So I don't want other colors to be too bright and distract from him. So I'm going to make that water kind of muted. And you can already see that the color from underneath is kind of shining through.
That looks great. I love it.
Yeah, it's warming up that color of the water really nicely. So,
Yeah.
sometimes just for fun, I show my students what this color would look like on a white canvas and how
Uh-huh.
different it looks with those underpainting colors that I
Very
use.
cool. And I like your brushwork. You're laying it down, leaving it alone pretty much. You're not fussing over your brushwork. You're just getting the paint on there.
Yes, I'm trying to get the paint on there with a, bigger brush. I stay in the big shapes for really long, so I'm not going to bother myself with little waves and stuff yet.
Yeah.
And also, so I'm putting the brush stroke down with the wide part of my brush, and I leave it
Mhm.
alone. When I do my underpainting, it's a different brush technique. I literally go like this, and
Right. A little
oops,
scrubbing.
there was
Yeah.
actually paint on there,
Cool.
but I really scrub it into the weave of the canvas. So
Uh-huh.
there's my water. So that was pretty fast.
Well, that's
So
super.
I think I would like to get to the background and explain to you why I'm going to change a little bit what I see in the picture. So in my photo, the most of the foliage is in the light, but to
I see that.
support
Mhm.
my focal point here, he's wearing orange waders. I'm really trying to max out contrast in value, contrast in color, contrast in temperature, and in saturation. So the complement of orange, of course, is blue. So I want to go with something that's bluish, but not too intense, and definitely darker than his wader. So I'm going to mix myself a muted blue with my ultramarine. And whenever I want to make that a little bit more muted, because I love ultramarine, but it's also very intense.
Yes.
I'm gonna put
Mhm.
a tiny little dab of India red in there. So I'm gonna show you my palette real quickly.
Oh, cool. Oh
So
my, look at that. Nice.
I'm working with a split primary palette, and I love it because it gives me a little bit more to play with than, just with one yellow, one blue, one
Would you
red.
run through it? Would you mind holding it up again and running through it real quick and telling us what colors you use?
Absolutely. So, oops, sorry. I hope you don't get seasick. Okay, so here's my cool yellow. I think that's lemon yellow,
Lemon.
cadmium yellow medium. This is a yellow deep. I think it's called yellow lake deep. This is golden ochre, permanent orange, naphthol red,
Mm.
quinacridone rose, magenta. Here's that India red I just told you about. So
Oh,
basically, it's replacing the transparent red oxide that a lot of people have on their palette. It's a little bit cooler than transparent red oxide. And I don't know, for some reason, it seems to serve me better. Here's
huh.
my ultramarine. This is sort of like an optional fun color. I only have it on my palette so that everybody who sees me paint says, "Ooh, that's delicious. What is that?"
Is
It's
it King's
actually
Blue or something?
no, it's pale violet, which is
Oh.
it's almost like King's Blue, but a little bit more red in it.
Mm-hmm.
This, you know what, this is just leftover on my palette. I'm not gonna use it. This is phthalo blue, phthalo green, and this I don't always have that on my palette either. And then I have titanium white.
Okay, cool. Well, those are a lot of different colors that I'm not used to, so I'm anxious to see what you're gonna do.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I started out, I had a more traditional palette, with Viridian, uh, and alizarin crimson. And I never understood what the difference was between, let's say, Viridian and phthalo green, or alizarin and quinacridone red. So what I did, I took 18 colors that I was very curious about, and I mixed every color with every other color. And I also did 5 tints, which means adding white to it, to
Mm-hmm.
all those colors, which made 1,600 different colors.
Okay.
And I know it sounds really crazy. Um, but it really helped me figure out which colors I wanted to have permanently on my palette, because I figured
Interesting.
out what the difference were between those colors that were really very close to one another.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional ones and the modern ones. And now I have, other than the cadmium yellow, it's pretty much all modern colors that I have on there, which I love.
Oh,
Okay,
interesting.
so here's that blue that's really kind of muted. And I think, because of the dark value and the complement of the orange, and we'll get to that when I put that on, it should really, really pop that focal point. So you can see I do take artistic license. I'm not looking at my reference photo thinking, oh, I gotta copy every color. You will never see me mix a color and then hold up my brush to my reference and
Yes.
check
Mm-hmm.
if it's exact, because I think it's so important that you concern yourself more with nailing the color relationships in
Mm-hmm.
regards to color and value and saturation and temperature, rather than trying to duplicate the color.
Yes. Well, you're doing a painting for one. You're not copying a photo. And for two, you're strategizing quite a bit. And I don't know if people are aware of the fact that often, I mean, every single moment you're strategizing on what your next color relationship will be and how to best show off your focal point.
Oh, totally. I mean, everybody who's a painter has probably noticed that after a nice, fun painting session, you feel a little tired because it's just so much brain work, because
Right.
I'm such a believer into not making random trial and error moves, and instead doing everything with intention. Every brush stroke has a purpose. So here, here I'm brushing it in I just want to cover this real quickly so that I have something on here. So can you see how he already pops just because of what I put into the background?
Totally, yes.
So I feel now, I always try to cover the whole canvas before I elaborate a little bit more on certain things.
Yeah, and you have,
Because,
yeah, why don't you talk about how you used your brush to what I call carve out your people with your background?
oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what's,
So when I do my people, they're not necessarily accurate, but I know that I'm gonna carve around them anyways, fixing little things.
uh-huh.
And so one thing that I find is super important when you put people into your painting is when it comes to the head, always err on the small side. Because everybody knows if the head's too big, it looks wrong. Like his head is a little bit too big, so I will have to, carve around his head a little bit more later. But I like to get started with my focal point over here a little bit. So I'm going to adjust the colors on him. So those orange waders. So, here you see I have a cool magenta-y color, so that I can max out temperature between the warm and the cool side. So we just said my first step is when I mix a color, the first question I ask myself, what color am I mixing? So I'm moving into that color here in the light. So it's clearly an orange. The second question would be the value. And that is really, really important because if you get the value right, you can basically make any color you want and it will still work. But if you mess up the value, then, chances are your painting isn't going to read anymore. So what I do though with my underpainting, I already get accurate value relationships. So for me, it's really easy. I just got to match this value here. So that is the second question. First one was the hue, what color are you mixing? Second one is what's the value? And then the third one, that is also really important, is the saturation. Am I making a very saturated color or am I making something a little bit more muted? Because he's my focal point. I want those waders to really, really glow. So I'm gonna go with a very strong orange. And I lay this right on top. And again, I'm not going back and forth. I'm laying it down and I'm leaving it alone.
Nice.
There we go. There's the waders. And in regards to saturation, I have to say my work used to be more colorful. And then I read, I can't remember who said it, but it really stuck with me. It was the sentence, all color is no color. And I wish I could give that person credit because if you have bright color everywhere, then
Yes.
the viewer doesn't really know where to look. So I learned to appreciate, I learned to appreciate muted colors as well. So here, this is his white shirt in the light. It looks a little bit too yellowy, so I'm going to adjust that. And I'm going to mix up a lot of white. And I'm going to put something a little bit, I'm going to put my cool yellow in there, which is to warm up the white, because just white would be too cool since it's the coolest color on your palette.
Yes.
But
That's
by
for sure.
adding a little bit of the lemon yellow, it will be cooler than what I have here right now. Look how pretty this is. I'm gonna do this like one brush stroke.
Wow, that pops.
Look how, yeah, he is starting to glow here in the sunlight. I'm gonna put a little bit on his shoulder here. And then
No, I really want to reiterate something that you said, which is super important, which is probably your secret of getting the beautiful glowing colors. And that is around him is not too colorful. It's more gray. And he
yes.
is super pumped with intensity and color. And so the opposite of color is basically not color, which is kind of what you were saying. And not color just meaning that it can be more tonal and more grayed out, which will really show off your intense colors.
Yes. And I think it's so important to also learn how to mix beautiful grays.
Mhm.
And grays do have a lot of color too. And I always recommend to stay away from pre-mixed grays. I don't know, how do you feel about the grays? You mix all your own grays, right, Deborah?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So you like more chromatic grays where you can mix them from complementary colors and things like that?
Yeah, but I always make them lean towards another color. I don't like
Yeah.
them to be a very neutral gray.
Yeah.
So, I make them lean either towards blue or towards red or maybe,
Yes.
towards a muted yellow, so that they don't look dead.
Right. Because a lot of people tend to just grab that black and add white to it and put gray all over the place. And I'm the same way with harbor scenes. There's all looks like it's all
Hmm.
gray, but really you need to have subtle blues, subtle violets, subtle greens, and things like that to give the painting some life.
Absolutely. I'm gonna lighten this shadow a little bit, the shadow side of the shirt, just so that it separates a little bit better from the background. See, just that little bit. And I white is one of my favorite colors to paint because there's so many colors in white when you really start looking at it. And oftentimes, when people paint something white, they want to start too light in the shadow. But then what are you going to do on the light side? You're out of
Right.
options to make it look light filled.
Hmm.
So hold on, let me just put one little brush stroke right here. And he's wearing a white hat, so I'm going to put that same titanium white with a tiny touch of lemon yellow right here to turn on the light on his hat. And then his face, I have to adjust the skin color a little bit. It's just a little bit too yellow ochre. So again, so I'm analyzing what value am I making for the skin color. I do want the value I have here on the light side, but so it's like a peachy color. That would be the first question. The hue value is what I have here. The third one is the saturation. So if I make him too saturated, he looks like he lives near a nuclear power plant and he's a glow or something. So I do want that skin color to be a little bit muted. I think
So
this
how
is
did you
better.
mute that? How do you say that's muted? What did you do?
So usually, since I have a split primary palette, in the case of this peachy color, I would have to mix a yellow and a red, right? So when I'm trying to mix a muted color, then I'm trying to mix two colors that also have the third primary in them, because each of these colors lean towards another color, and you have to know which way they're leaning. For instance, my lemon yellow leans towards blue. There's a little bit of blue in it, which makes it look cooler than my warm yellows, which have a little bit of red in it. So
Right.
with my reds, my permanent orange has yellow in it. My naphthol red is considered my warm red. It has also a little yellow in it, but my cool red, which could be your alizarin crimson or your
Hmm.
quinacridone, has a little blue in it.
Yes.
So when I try to mix a muted peach color, I'm picking the yellow and the red that also both have a little blue in it, which will mute the
Oh,
color, because every time you mix all
interesting.
three primaries, you're
Hmm.
actually muting them. So that would be my cool red and my cool yellow over here.
That's
And
cool.
that is so important to know, because I have about 3,000 paint tubes at home. I took a lot of workshops,
Uh-huh.
and I always ran and bought all the
Yeah,
colors the instructor would recommend. You
sure.
really don't have to do that when you know what you can do with your paints. So
A
for
lot of
instance,
people that are
it
taking workshops, though, don't know that. So they kind of have to do a little more experimentation, it seems like. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And I mean, it took me a while to figure that out, that I really
Yes.
didn't need all those colors. But so basically, it doesn't matter if you have alizarin crimson or quinacridone rose as your cool red. You just have to realize this is my cool red, and this has a little
Yeah.
blue in it. And when I
Does.
mix it with a yellow, it will make something more muted than the
Super.
red that has also the yellow in it, you know, so the red that has yellow in it could be your naphthol red, your cadmium red light. So naphthol red is basically the modern version of the traditional color of cadmium red light.
Yes. Do you know, is it Sir Kenneth Clark who you got that quote from? Nancy
Maybe
Cook
I
said
don't know.
it's from Sir Kenneth Clark. And just so
Oh,
you know, Manon, we have people from all over the world watching: Canada,
oh my goodness.
India, England,
Wow.
and all the way across the United States, but really all the way across the world too. So you're a star, girl. This is
Hello,
fun.
world.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing with everyone.
Oh, I'm so happy. You know, thank you so much, you know, everyone, to take time out of your busy days to watch this. I just want to point out one brushstroke here. So one of my favorite colors on my palette is actually my phthalo green, or it could be a viridian, same thing, just that viridian is the traditional color and phthalo green is the modern version of it. When you mix white into it, it almost turns into a warm blue. And usually on the top planes, like his shoulder, the sky is reflecting down. So I always like to give that a little bit of extra oomph with either a warm blue or with my phthalo green with some white, just to
Yeah.
show the viewer that there's a plane change between that
Right.
vertical plane and that horizontal plane right here.
Awesome. Yes. Gives it a lot more form. So do you do something similar in the sunlight side?
Yes, let me show you what I'm going to do there. So I want to go with something cooler than this yellowish color that I have there to describe the top plane that will typically on a nice day be a little cooler because the blue of the sky is reflecting down. But I'm afraid if I took a light blue, that this area would all of a sudden look like a shadow.
Shadow. Yeah.
So instead, I'm going with a cool color from what I consider the warm side of my palette. So this is the warm side of my palette here. And I think the coolest color would be my cool red. So, and it looks so pretty when you lay one brush stroke on top. So I'm going to take a lot of white. It's just the lightest little tint with some of that quinacridone rose I have. And you know, all those modern colors, they have one thing in common. They're all transparent. And I
Oh,
love that too. So I'm gonna just do a tiny touch right up here. I don't know if you guys, here, let me
nice.
maybe, can I
I can
zoom in
see
a little
it.
bit?
I can totally see it. Looks awesome.
All
Uh-oh, we
right.
may have lost Manon. Are you there?
Yeah, Deborah, Manon just dropped out. She must have touched something on her screen. So
Oh
do
my
you want to
goodness.
do the little speech that you're supposed to do at the end while we wait for her?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay. And I want to thank the streamliners too for being so gracious to write a lot of comments in regarding links and things for each of the guests. That is so kind of you to do that. And I'm grateful for your company every day.
Well,
And
actually, Deborah, I'm so sorry. Manon is back.
oh,
Do
good.
you want
Okay.
to go?
That's great.
Okay. Okay.
Let's do that.
Sorry about that. So I just learned better not touch my phone. I tried to zoom in and it disappeared. But so okay, so here's that little bit of pink on top of the shoulder. It makes a big difference, believe it or not. So I also have to deal with his skin tones on the arms. So I'm just gonna put some of that skin color from earlier just here on the light side of the arm.
Uh-huh. So you like to use long flats mostly, it looks like, huh?
I do because I feel like, you know, they're like little paint shovels. You can really load the brush.
Yes.
And I like to start with a stiffer brush and then I move to something softer. So this is almost like a imitation mongoose.
Uh-huh. Yep, that's the way to
So
go.
yeah, you know, the reason why I like the long, softer brushes, especially when I work a la prima, is I'm not gonna scrape off anything that's underneath.
Uh-huh. You can set it right on
Okay,
top.
so right. So here's his net. I think here, this color, I'm going to leave that alone for now. I'm going to deal with it a little later, but I wanted to adjust this. So again, there was the first question about the color. It's a very muted whitish color. The second one was value. It's very light. The third one was saturation. It's kind of muted. It's not very saturated. And the fourth one was temperature. And it's definitely warmer than just titanium white. So I mixed a little bit of a muted yellow, like my golden
Yeah.
ochre, into that.
You know what I
So-
love? You've got your orange with your blue background, and then you've got the green bag, which is a complement toward the dark side of the orange, which is basically red. So you're working with
Yeah.
complements all the time.
All the time. And, I mean, so much thought goes into that. It would be easy to think it's random, but it's not.
Yeah.
Everything, before I make any brush stroke, I will go to those 4 questions and be like, okay, what do I have to do in regards to the color, the value, the temperature, and the saturation? Okay, so he needs his little straps on his waders. I'm just gonna pop that on top, but I have to
Wow.
I have to be true to my light situation. So it's in the light over here. That brush stroke was a little clumsy, but it's just oil. So I'm gonna go back in with my white and make that a little skinnier right here. And then his shirt goes over into the shadow. So I'm gonna go back to this magenta color for the strap in the shadow right here. And I think, you know what, I can't really see it in the picture, but I would assume he also has a strap over here. I'm just gonna put that there.
Nice. I love it when the color goes from shadow to light, and making
Oh,
that
me
difference
too.
in the painting. That's really fun.
Yes. Yes, you can literally see that the light all of a sudden is turned on.
Yes.
So I'm going to address a couple of the other things real quick. So
Okay.
the same with these, I assume they're coolers because these are fishermen and they're fishing for bait. And I still have that strong yellow there and it's starting to bothering me, so I better get to it.
What's in his bag? Then his bag got bait in it, or what's in there?
That is actually a
What'd you
net.
get? Oh, it's a net.
It's a
Oh, okay.
net. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my white and lemon yellow mix.
Did you ever work in pastel?
No, I
Really?
love the look of pastel, but for
Yeah.
me, there's something about what it feels like to put it on.
With a brush.
It's a tactile thing for me.
Uh-huh.
I love it when other people, paint in pastel. I think they're gorgeous, but the way it goes on, it's like that chalky, dry feeling.
Hmm.
I don't know. I just can't. Maybe
Like the
I
juicy.
should try again. I have tried, but I love it when it's like frosting a cupcake, with my oils. I just love the feeling. It's
Oh, you can get
so
that too in pastel. The reason
Mm.
I asked you is because you're doing a lot of layering, and especially in the water, and that's a total pastel technique, which I think is really fun. So I was thinking that you probably did originally maybe work in pastels.
No,
Okay, well, you're
unfortunately
getting a
not.
lot of vibrancy by layering, and it's a beautiful technique in oil or pastel.
Yes. No, I mean, that's how you get okay, so there's this saying that you should make your painting interesting from 30 feet away, which is basically the shapes. When you have interesting shapes, your painting is going to look interesting from 30 feet away. That's what draws somebody over and makes them want to look at your painting. But then it also should look interesting from 3 feet away and from basically, a foot away. And when you're a foot away, then you can get close and you see all those other colors shining through. And it's like, it gives the viewer something to discover. And
Totally, yeah.
and
And the
when you
brushwork.
layer, yes, and when you layer like that, that's what you get. Okay, so I'm gonna give him also sort of like a peachy skin color here where his face is in the light. And I'm gonna pop a light on his hat. And so he's wearing a black hat. So, I don't want it to look dead. So I'm gonna make it in the light. It's gonna be a warm gray. So here, let's try this. Let's put one
Of
little
course, you can
dab
make
on
that hat
here.
any color you want.
Of course, yes, but yes, definitely. You know, I'm all for artistic license, and I do that quite a bit, that I change
No, you do.
colors.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's why it's so fun to be a painter. I mean, you
Yeah,
literally get to move mountains.
that's true. And even the sun and the moon, whatever it is, you can move whatever you want.
Yeah, isn't that so nice? I
That's
love
cool.
it. Okay, so yeah, he definitely needs some carving around. So maybe let's address some other things real quickly.
You've got
You know,
about 15 minutes, just so you know.
okay, great.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll be the speed painter. So I'm gonna start to look into fun stuff like reflected light. So I'm gonna warm up this here just a little bit. So I like to stay in the big shapes for as long as I can, and then I start working into them, you know, making something a little bit more glowy, and um, paying attention to reflected light. Those are the fun things, you know, that bring the painting to life. But I also want to show you quickly what I would do with the background now that I
Great.
have everything covered now, and now I'm going to
Yeah.
play a little bit more with the background. So I always try to think about, how can I lead the viewer's eye even more to my focal point? So there's clearly some foliage in the background. I don't want it to be too bright, so I'm gonna mix a greenish color, maybe in value a tiny little bit lighter what I have here, and something that is not too saturated. So a good color mix for making a not too bright green is actually my ultramarine and the golden ochre, because the golden ochre is sort of a dull yellow anyways.
Hmm.
So let me see. This is a pretty good value. So I don't want to lose too much of my blue around him, because it really helps to max out the contrast with the complements. But I do want it to read a little bit like greenery. So I'm going to have some greenery come around in some parts here. Just going to brush it on. I'm not going to paint leaves. Maybe I'll have a little bit come in from here. Trying not to repeat shapes. That's always boring, you know, when they look like they're repeating themselves. Maybe there's
And
a
that's
little green
something that,
here.
people tend to do all the time. I do it all the time, and I have to fix it all the time. Like, oh no, that's the exact same shape as this, so.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean, you know, but that's where it helps to step away from your painting a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh, look how you
now,
pushed
you
into
know,
that guy's hand. That was cool.
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm gonna go just a little bit lighter to make it look like there's actually light trickling down that foliage and right towards my focal point. You know,
Perfect.
so a lot of my thought goes towards, what can I do to really guide the viewer's eye towards my focal point? So this would be one way. Brightest color, you want that around your focal point. I could go even a little stronger if I wanted, just showing you, you know, if I go even brighter here. So now, you know, you're definitely looking at him.
It's simple and beautiful.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Here, I'm gonna do something really fun. I see a really tiny reflection of that orange here.
Oh, fun. I love that. See how you just broke up that reflection? That looks great.
Just with a dry brush, I just pulled it through. I wanna cut into him more. He still looks a little blobby. So I'm gonna go back to something dull and blue, you know, in my mind. Again, I'm going to, what color am I mixing? And what value? Saturation, definitely very unsaturated. I'm gonna make his head a little bit smaller here. I always think, when you err on the small side with the head, and the head is really a little too small, then they just look like they're bodybuilders and they're working out a lot.
Where are you originally from, Manon?
I'm German. I'm from
That's
Berlin.
what I thought. Okay.
Yeah,
Couldn't
oftentimes
tell
people
by your
think I'm
accent
French,
at
but
all,
I,
really.
oh, really? Oh, you just made my day, because I mean, I've been here for 30 years, and I just have to say one word and people are like, "Oh, you're German."
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm Okay, so sometimes I like to create a little halo around somebody,
Ooh, show us
especially
how to do that.
yeah, especially the focal point. So
Ooh.
hold on, I have to reestablish his hat. This got lost a little bit. So I like to do the little halos, especially where the light is really hitting it, like here, and I will just go like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that really easily if you have enough paint on there. So you just pull out,
Yeah.
and then I
Make
just
sure your
kind
brush
of,
is clean.
right, yeah. Then I just sort of blend a little bit, but then you have to go back in and replace all the paint that you just took off, because
Oh, fun.
I don't want it to look blendy,
Yeah.
just like light is bouncing off of him.
Cool.
So last thing I do in my paintings, I mean, this is far from at that stage where I do that. It's still a little raw looking, but I think that edges are so important. So, because with the edges, you can really guide the viewer's eye around. And the eye will go to a hard edge. And so I will soften edges wherever I don't want the viewer's eye to get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, this cooler here, that really needs to be softened a little bit. And by softening, I'm basically just messing up the edge a little bit so that it
Uh-huh.
doesn't look like a cutout. I want it to live in its environment, so I can do that, for instance, here with his arm a little bit more, or even with the paints here, with the pants. Yeah, I'm just gonna apply a little bit more paint here. So nice soft edge. I'm gonna soften this edge. I'm also gonna put a tiny little bit of that Viridian on top of his shoulder, the guy on the left, just white.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of whatever you have, that works with phthalo green or Viridian really well. And it's such a pretty color. Just here on top plane, just like that.
It's so neat how Viridian turns to aqua, like pretty much when you add white to it.
Yes. I
Goes very
sometimes I
blue.
even put it in my sky,
Me too.
towards
Mhm.
the bottom. You do that too. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just such a pretty color. And then, what's still bugging me is the bottom of the boat. There's a hard edge here where there shouldn't be one. So typically there's no hard edges where something that's in the shadow meets something else that's in the shadow. So there is a tiny shadow here on the water. So again, I went through my 4 questions by what color am I mixing? It's sort of a greenish color. The value is darker than my water in the light. The saturation, it's very unsaturated, so it's very dull. So I mixed again that mix of ultramarine and yellow ochre. And what I want to do now, I'm going to lose that edge between the boat and the water, which will also help the boat to sit in the water and not on top.
Nice. Yes. That looks great.
And then maybe, just because my focal point is here, maybe I can do a little bit of fun color right here where the boat will actually catch
Reflecting
more
light.
light.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go with my
Oh, I love that
phthalo
already.
green again.
It's green
working?
complementing the guy's pants. It's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, a little lighter. So it's gonna be a little lighter than what I have for my boat color. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Oh, that looks awesome. Perfect. And I love the way you just, you don't keep fussing with it. You just very intent on your brush strokes and you leave it nice and confident and it looks super that way.
Yes, definitely. And I'll show you a little trick because that's another reason why I really love working with these long flats. I should probably take a bigger one for this one. So this is a number.
This is your last trick you get.
Last trick. Okay, I'll
Last
make it
trick.
quick. Something that will really turn on the light in the painting is
Yeah.
when I put a little highlight on top of the edge of the boat right here, and I can do that even though it's a big brush.
Wow.
It has such a chiseled edge. Look at this.
Nice.
So, and I'm gonna
That's
pop
very
that
brave.
right on here.
That's the soft one too.
Yes, but that will work also with something that's a little bit that has stiffer bristles. And then we're going to give it maybe that little line here. Oh, no, you know what? Maybe I won't. In the picture, you see a line on the left-hand side. I'm afraid if I put that in, that it sort of leads me out of the painting.
Yeah,
I don't
do
think I
that.
need
I
it.
agree. Yeah. It's looking
Yeah.
super. Can you come
Thank
on and
you.
talk to us? Go see your pretty face?
Absolutely. Wait, I just have to put that little highlight back in. Okay, all done.
Okay, come visit with me for a minute.
Okay,
I love that. Is so beautiful. I hope everybody took a screenshot. And don't forget, you can go back and watch it all on all these different places where we have been filming on Facebook and YouTube and all sorts of places. So Manon, that was very magical. And I was wondering maybe, yeah, it was super clean and simple and beautiful. And your paintings always have that glow. And so I was wanting to get all the secrets on how you get away with your glow.
Yeah, well, I spilled a lot of my secrets today.
You did.
So
Thank you.
yeah, I pretty much always work the same way. Sometimes I have a different strategy when there's a color like red that you can't lighten with white. Sometimes I put a color note of that first and then figure out the darker values of other things. But
yeah.
for the most part, this is how I work, and I think it's a super fun way of making a painting.
It's very, again, I want to talk about strategy. I mean, you're constantly strategizing every brush stroke, every value, every color. So what are your 4 things again?
First one is you have to figure out what color you're mixing, the hue. And sometimes it's straightforward. Like if you paint a red fire truck, that's pretty straightforward. But when you paint on a gray day, then you really have to analyze what color is that gray leaning. So first one, the hue. Second one was the values, super important. The third one is the saturation. Are you making a dull color or something more intense? Because that your color mixing depends on that. The fourth one was the temperature. Are you making a warmer or a cooler version of that color in relationship to the other things in your painting? Temperature is always relative, so you have to compare it to other things.
Super. And you used a big brush the whole time, pretty much. I mean, you might have used a number 2 long flat on a couple places, but that whole painting was done with a big brush, no noodling, no little brushes. So
no, you know what? A lot of my students always say they want to be looser, but then they paint with the eyelash of a squirrel.
Right.
So I think that when you paint with a brush that feels a tiny bit uncomfortable because it seems big, that's when you get that loose painting style. When you don't have perfect control.
Try it. And if you're new to painting, try at the end just a couple of big, bold strokes with a big brush, and then you start to get used to it. And it makes a big statement. So
and also I hold the brush like this. I don't hold it in the front like a pencil. I hold it like this, which will also help with a little bit less control. And you can stand further back from your painting when you paint with the back of your brush.
Yes, command it like an orchestra. you know, make
Exactly.
it do what you want. So thank you so
Yes.
much for being here with us, Manon. We had such a pleasure learning all of your secrets. So thank you for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank
We
you for
loved
having
it.
me. Thank
We'll
you. And
see you again soon.
okay, sounds good. Bye,
Bye,
Deborah.
bye, pal. Hey, gosh, that was great. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's so fun. I mean, even though I'm a professional painter, I learned so much from everybody, and talking to your friends and comparing notes and getting honest opinions from your friends is really an important thing to do for painters. So always share, you know? So don't forget to visit ManonSander.com. That's MANON Sander with no S, Sander.com, and visit her on Instagram, Manon Sander. And of course, we get to give away something from Eric today. Since he's not here, he wants to make sure to give away a free video, 97 Art Secrets. So go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL. If you haven't signed up for Plein Live, it's time to get on that. So it's November 6th through 8th of this year. It's coming right up. And Essentials Day is right before that on the 5th. And it gives you a few days to get started, and then you fast track yourself with all these master painters that give you all their secrets too. You can really watch some wonderful demos, and then you get access to it afterwards too. So it's really wonderful to do. Sign up at pleinairlive.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, of course, at Art School Live on YouTube and at Eric Rhodes on Instagram. And please, if you would be so kind as to visit my website too. You'll see some paintings like the one that's behind me. This is a large ship painting called Adventure is Calling. It's just got back from the Oil Painters of America show in Florida. So that was a thrill, and it'll probably go to our gallery now. So if you'd like to check out DebraHuse.com, it's DebraHuse.com, and follow me on Instagram at Debra Huse Art. And I do have a couple of videos that they're probably showing maybe right now. I can't see it exactly, but here they are, Impressionism and Impressionistic Brushwork on PaintTube TV. And be sure and check out all the videos there. There's so many wonderful videos, but of course you want to get mine first. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining us today. We had so much fun with Manon Sander, and tomorrow we have a special guest also. We're switching to watercolor, and we're going to have Jeff Allen. He's from Southern California, and you're going to love him and his work. So join us tomorrow. We'll see you there. Thanks for tuning in.